In a quiet coastal village, nestled between rolling waves and vast open skies, lived a family whose lineage had been tied to the sea for generations. The waves were their lullaby, the salty breeze their morning greeting. This was the home of Clara and Ethan, two siblings bound by love, responsibility, and an unshakable connection to their traditions. The village itself was a place where life moved with the tides, where each family played a part in the survival and prosperity of the community. Small wooden houses with thatched roofs lined the shore, their structures built to withstand the salty air and the occasional storm. The people of the village lived simply but happily, drawing sustenance from the sea and trading their catches for other necessities. Each morning, the fishermen set sail in their sturdy boats, their hearts filled with hope for a bountiful catch, while the women and children tended to the home and prepared for the return of the men. Clara and Ethan grew up under the watchful eyes of their parents, Joseph and Barbara. Joseph was one of the most respected fishermen in the village, known for his deep understanding of the sea and his unwavering commitment to tradition. He taught Clara and Ethan the importance of respecting nature, of knowing when to push forward and when to hold back, of recognizing that the sea was both a giver and a taker. Joseph often took them on his fishing trips, showing them firsthand how to navigate the unpredictable waters. Clara, ever the diligent student, absorbed every lesson, while Ethan, though fascinated, found himself wondering about the lands beyond the sea. He would listen intently to the stories Joseph told of distant markets where their fish were traded, of the great cities where people never saw the ocean, and of the vast unknown that lay beyond the horizon. Joseph also instilled in them a deep respect for their ancestors, emphasizing that their way of life was built on centuries of knowledge. "We do not just fish," he would say. "We carry the wisdom of those who braved these waters before us. Every tide, every storm, every sunrise on the sea connects us to our past. The sea is part of us, and we are part of it. To forget that is to lose ourselves." Despite Joseph's teachings, Ethan could not help but feel restless. He loved the village, but he yearned to see more of the world. Whenever merchants arrived with goods from far-off places, he would bombard them with questions, desperate to learn about the lands they had traveled through. He imagined bustling marketplaces filled with exotic spices, towering cities that stretched beyond the horizon, and vast, uncharted lands waiting to be explored. Each story he heard fueled his imagination, making the village feel smaller with each passing day. He longed for adventure, for something beyond the endless cycle of fishing and village life. Clara, meanwhile, was content in the knowledge that she was exactly where she belonged. She found peace in the rhythm of daily life, in the quiet satisfaction of working alongside her father and the pride of knowing she was preserving their family's legacy. While Ethan dreamed of distant lands, she saw the beauty in their simple, unwavering traditions. To her, the village was not a place to escape, but a home to cherish and protect. Barbara played an equally vital role in shaping their values. She ensured that the home was always welcoming, reinforcing the idea that family was the foundation of their lives. She taught Clara and Ethan how to prepare food for the long winter months, how to weave baskets sturdy enough to carry their goods, and how to mend clothes so that nothing was wasted. "A strong home is what keeps us together," she would say. "No matter where life takes you, always remember where you come from." As the seasons passed, Clara and Ethan's bond deepened, but so did their differences. Clara was rooted in the traditions of their village, while Ethan felt the pull of something more. Their father's lessons, though deeply ingrained, could not quiet the curiosity growing within Ethan's heart. Beyond his skills in fishing, Joseph was also a storyteller. In the evenings, as the family sat around a fire outside their home, he would share tales of the village's past, stories of great storms that tested their resilience, of fishermen lost at sea who were later found, and of the unwavering bond between the villagers who relied on each other for survival. These stories were not just entertainment but carried valuable lessons, instilling in Clara and Ethan a deep sense of duty and belonging. Joseph would often take them to the docks at dawn, pointing to the horizon and explaining the subtle signs of an incoming storm or the best routes for a successful catch. Clara took his lessons to heart, determined to be as knowledgeable and skilled as her father. She thrived in the village's way of life, finding joy in mastering the techniques passed down for generations. Ethan, however, while fascinated by the sea, was equally drawn to the unknown. He would ask travelers and merchants about lands beyond their own, about cities filled with people from different cultures, and about ships that sailed across vast oceans to places he had only ever heard of in whispers. Unlike Clara, he was torn between the security of tradition and the promise of something new. His heart was restless, eager to explore, even though he knew his father expected him to carry on the family's legacy. One evening, after a particularly successful fishing trip, Joseph sat his children down and spoke with a solemn tone. "The sea has been our home for generations, but it is not for the faint-hearted. You must respect it, understand it, and never let arrogance lead you to danger. We do not conquer the ocean, we live with it, and it gives us life in return." Clara nodded, understanding the weight of his words. Ethan, while listening attentively, still felt a pull toward something different. His father's lessons were invaluable, but a part of him wondered if the world beyond the village had lessons of its own waiting for him to discover. Joseph often took them down to the shoreline at dawn, explaining the signs of an impending storm, the shifting colors of the water, and the best times to cast their nets. Clara listened carefully, eager to learn, while Ethan's mind often wandered toward the stories of great explorers and distant lands. To reinforce his lessons, Joseph shared the story of his own youth, when he had once ignored the warnings of an elder fisherman and ventured out to sea on a day when the waters were unpredictable. The storm that followed nearly cost him his life, and from that day on, he never underestimated the wisdom of experience. "The sea rewards those who respect it," he would say, "but punishes those who take it for granted." Clara took these lessons to heart, making sure that every knot she tied and every step she took on the boat was deliberate and careful. Ethan, however, while respecting his father's wisdom, still felt the pull of adventure. He longed to see what lay beyond the endless blue, believing there was more to the world than just the traditions of their village. Barbara, ever the grounding presence, often reminded both children that knowledge was their greatest asset. "It's not just about learning how to fish or how to navigate the waters," she would say. "It's about understanding why we do it, why it matters, and how it connects us to something greater." Barbara, on the other hand, was the heart of the home. She was the one who made sure the family was fed, that the house was in order, and that the traditions of their ancestors were passed down to the next generation. She taught Clara how to weave baskets from reeds, how to salt fish for preservation, and how to mend clothes so that they lasted as long as possible. Through her, Clara learned that strength was not just in muscle, but in resilience and care. Ethan, though still young, was full of questions. He admired his father and dreamed of the day he would be old enough to sail out with the other fishermen. He listened eagerly to his father's stories about the old days, about the times when the sea was plentiful and the village thrived. But he also listened to the stories of passing traders, of lands beyond the horizon where cities rose into the sky and people lived lives vastly different from his own. One evening, as the family gathered around the fire, Joseph shared a lesson that would stay with Clara and Ethan forever. "The sea is like life," he said, his voice steady and wise. It will challenge you, test your patience, and sometimes take more than it gives. But if you learn to understand it, to work with it rather than against it, it will provide all that you need. Clara nodded, her heart swelling with the responsibility she felt to uphold these teachings. Ethan, however, was restless. He wanted to explore, to see the world beyond their small village. He loved his home, but he couldn't shake the feeling that there was more out there waiting for him. As the waves whispered against the shore, Clara and Ethan sat side by side, one fully embracing the life before her, the other dreaming of the adventures that lay beyond the horizon. Little did they know, change was on the way, and their understanding of home, family, and tradition would soon be put to the test. Their lives revolved around the rhythm of the tides, and each day was a lesson in patience and perseverance. The sea provided everything they needed: food, livelihood, and even moments of joy. Yet, it was also an unpredictable master, offering both sustenance and peril in equal measure. The villagers knew that fortune could change with a single storm, and that understanding gave them a deep reverence for nature's balance. The ocean was their greatest ally, but also their harshest teacher. Each morning, before the sun fully rose, the fishermen would gather at the docks, checking their boats and nets with the precision of artisans. The air was filled with the scent of salt and the distant calls of seagulls, a daily ritual that marked the start of their labor. Clara often watched her father prepare for the day, his hands moving methodically, each action a testament to years of knowledge passed down through generations. While the men braved the waters, the women kept the village alive in other ways. Barbara, Clara and Ethan's mother, spent her days preserving the fish, weaving baskets, and ensuring that the home remained a place of warmth and comfort. Clara had learned much from her, understanding that strength was not just in muscle, but in resilience and wisdom. Ethan, still young and untested, yearned for adventure beyond the horizon. He often imagined himself sailing far beyond the known waters, discovering lands and encountering people unlike any he had ever seen. The books he occasionally received from travelers and merchants only fueled this curiosity, showing him glimpses of a world that seemed both enchanting and terrifying. Despite the village's simplicity, life was not without its hardships. Storms could erase months of hard work in mere hours, sickness could take even the strongest among them, and the constant struggle against the elements meant that survival was never guaranteed. But through it all, the village endured, bound together by traditions and an unshakable sense of community. Every celebration, every shared meal, and every story told around the fire reinforced the belief that they were more than just individuals. They were a family, as connected to each other as they were to the sea. Joseph often spoke of his own childhood, recounting nights spent learning to read the stars, understanding the shifting winds, and sensing the subtle changes in water currents. Clara absorbed these lessons eagerly, internalizing not just the practical knowledge but the philosophy behind it. The sea was not an enemy to be conquered, nor a resource to be exploited, but a partner in their existence. Ethan, on the other hand, was still learning. His fascination with the sea came from stories of grand adventures, whispered tales of sailors who had seen lands beyond the horizon. He idolized the fishermen who left the village at dawn and returned with their boats full of fish, their faces lined with experience and pride. Yet, he did not fully grasp the cost of their labor: the cold mornings, the bruised hands, the battles against unpredictable waves. His dreams were not yet tempered by the wisdom of hardship. As he sat by the shore in the evenings, watching the sun set beyond the endless blue, he felt the pull of something greater. But whether that pull was leading him deeper into his family's traditions or beyond them, even he did not yet know. Clara, the elder of the two, was not just Ethan's sister but his second mother, a guiding force in his young life. She had inherited her father's wisdom and her mother's resilience, growing into a pillar of strength within their small community. From the moment Ethan was born, she knew she had a responsibility beyond herself, to protect him, to educate him, and to ensure he understood the values their family had upheld for generations. Ethan, in contrast, was filled with youthful wonder. He admired his sister and father, longing for the day he could join them on the boats and feel the oceans pull beneath him. Yet, his heart was also filled with curiosity about the world beyond their shores, about the lands and people he had never seen. He often sat by the docks, staring at the distant horizon, wondering what lay beyond the reach of his familiar world. He would listen eagerly to the stories of traders and fishermen who had ventured beyond the village, absorbing their tales of towering cities, vast deserts, and lands where the sea was not the center of life. These stories ignited something deep within him, a yearning for adventure, for discovery, for a life beyond the predictable rhythms of fishing and village traditions. That curiosity, though innocent, was like a rising tide, slowly pulling him toward a future neither he nor his family could fully predict. As he grew older, the call of the unknown grew stronger, setting the stage for choices that would shape his destiny and challenge the very foundation of everything he had been taught. He began to secretly collect small trinkets left behind by travelers, a worn compass, a foreign coin, a piece of parchment with unfamiliar symbols. These objects fascinated him, fueling his imagination and deepening his longing for exploration. At night, he would lie awake, tracing the lines of a crude map he had drawn based on the stories he had heard, dreaming of the day he would follow those paths himself. His sister, Clara, noticed these changes. She saw the way he lingered a little longer at the docks when the merchants arrived, how his eyes sparkled with curiosity when he listened to their tales. She knew that his heart was beginning to drift, much like a boat untethered from its moorings. Though she wished he would embrace their traditions as she had, she also understood that his dreams were not something she could easily quell. Their father, Joseph, was a seasoned fisherman who took immense pride in his craft. His hands, calloused from years of hauling nets and mending lines, held the knowledge passed down from his ancestors. He knew every current, every shift in the wind, and every trick of the trade to ensure a bountiful catch. His stories were filled with wisdom, warning against the sea's unpredictable temperament and teaching his children the resilience required to live by its mercy. Joseph believed that fishing was more than just a skill, it was an art, a delicate dance with the elements. He often spoke of the silent language of the waves, how the scent of the air could foretell a storm, how the way birds circled above the water could reveal where the best catch lay hidden beneath the surface. To him, the ocean was alive, speaking in a code only those who truly listened could understand. Beyond his practical knowledge, Joseph was a philosopher at heart. The sea is both our greatest ally and our fiercest enemy, he would say. It provides, but it also takes. To live by the sea is to learn humility, to understand that we are never its masters, only its students. Clara absorbed these lessons with quiet reverence, eager to inherit her father's understanding of the tides. Ethan, however, saw the sea differently. Where Clara saw tradition and responsibility, Ethan saw mystery and adventure. He dreamed of exploring the world beyond the waves, of discovering places his father's stories had never mentioned. Though Joseph understood his son's longing, he worried that Ethan's fascination with the unknown would one day lead him away from the village and the way of life their ancestors had built. Their mother, Barbara, maintained the household, ensuring that despite the unpredictable nature of the sea, their home remained warm and stable. She was the heart of the family, the one who wove together the traditions of past generations, preserving recipes, folk tales, and survival skills essential to their way of life. She instilled in her children a deep sense of pride in their roots, emphasizing that while the sea provided their livelihood, it was the strength of family and community that truly sustained them. Clara admired her mother's wisdom, while Ethan, though fascinated by her tales, yearned to see the world beyond the village. As the eldest child, Clara had always been more than just a sister to Ethan. She was his mentor, protector, and guide. From the moment he was born, she understood that her role extended beyond simple sibling affection. She was to be his anchor in a world governed by the sea and tradition. Their father, Joseph, had entrusted her with an unspoken vow to watch over her little brother, to pass down the knowledge of their people, and to ensure he never lost sight of the legacy they carried. Clara took this responsibility seriously, often taking Ethan along as she helped their mother prepare food, mend fishing nets, and weave baskets. She shared with him the stories their father had told her, tales of their ancestors, the triumphs and struggles of the village, and the lessons nature had taught them. Through her, Ethan learned that their way of life was not just a means of survival, but a testament to resilience, unity, and respect for the sea. The village had remained unchanged for centuries, its people living in harmony with the sea. They believed in the rhythm of the tides, the wisdom of their elders, and the lessons nature taught them. Each morning, before the first light of dawn kissed the horizon, the fishermen would rise, their bodies accustomed to the early hours, their hearts steady with purpose. They would prepare their boats with practiced hands, checking nets, sharpening hooks, and ensuring the ropes were secure. Out in the waters, they would move in silent understanding, their experience guiding them to the best fishing spots. The sea, though generous, was also unpredictable. Some days it rewarded them with an abundant catch. Other days, it reminded them of its power, sending turbulent waves that made fishing impossible. On such days, the fishermen would gather on the shore, mending nets and sharing stories of past voyages, passing down wisdom from generation to generation. They knew that patience was as much a part of their craft as skill, and even when the waters were unyielding, they remained steadfast, trusting in the cycle of nature to provide for them once more. On the shore, the village bustled with its own rhythm. Women worked diligently at the marketplace, cleaning fish, weaving baskets, and bartering with traders. Others repaired the boats, mended nets, or prepared meals for the returning men. Children played near the water's edge, their laughter mixing with the cries of seagulls, while elders sat together, sharing stories of past fishing expeditions and village legends. The scent of salted fish and fresh bread filled the air as merchants called out their wares, negotiating prices with seasoned expertise. Every person had a role to play, and together, they upheld a way of life that had sustained them for generations, bound by tradition, resilience, and a deep respect for the sea that provided for them. Clara had always been fascinated by the stories her father told about the ocean's mysteries. She absorbed each tale with eager curiosity, learning not just about the vastness of the waters but also the wisdom hidden within their depths. From shipwrecks lost to time, to the mythical creatures rumored to dwell beneath the waves, every story carried a lesson, a warning, or a glimpse into the past. As she grew older, Clara realized the importance of preserving these narratives, ensuring they were not forgotten. She dedicated herself to memorizing every detail, adding layers of depth and meaning to each tale. She began recording them in a leather-bound journal, filling its pages with intricate descriptions, sketches of sea creatures, and reflections on the lessons each story carried. When she recounted them to Ethan, she wove in her own experiences, the lessons learned from her father's wisdom, the trials she had faced during harsh seasons, and the small victories that had shaped her understanding of their way of life. She encouraged Ethan to write down his own thoughts and questions, hoping that one day he would add his own stories to their family's collection. The stories became more than just oral traditions. They were a tangible legacy, a testament to the resilience of their people and the unbreakable bond between siblings. Clara understood that their village's identity was rooted in these tales, and it was her mission to ensure they lived on, unchanged, even as the world beyond the horizon evolved. Clara wanted Ethan to see that their traditions were not just relics of the past, but living, breathing testaments to their ancestors' perseverance. She told him that every cast net, every whispered prayer before a voyage, and every shared meal in the village was part of a greater story, one that they were meant to carry forward. She explained that their rituals were more than just routine. They were sacred acts of continuity, linking generations together. Every fish they caught, every boat they built, every song sung at dusk was an echo of the past, shaping their present and securing their future. Their way of life was more than a profession. It was an identity, a legacy, and a sacred connection to the forces that had sustained them for generations, a rhythm woven into the fabric of their existence that must never be forgotten. Ethan, though young, admired his father and sister, eager to grow up and follow in their footsteps. He loved listening to Clara's stories, imagining himself as a fearless sailor navigating treacherous waters, discovering hidden islands, and unraveling the mysteries of the deep. He often found himself staring at the horizon, wondering what lay beyond, dreaming of the day he could master the sea's secrets and carve his own legend upon its waves. One day, the village welcomed a visitor unlike any they had seen before. His name was Dylan, a young man from the city who carried himself with an air of sophistication, dressed in fine fabrics that sharply contrasted the simple attire of the villagers. His every step exuded confidence, his words laced with the promise of prosperity and change. Unlike the villagers, who had lived their lives in harmony with the rhythm of the tides, Dylan spoke of grand opportunities, of a world where fortunes were built not by the sea's mercy but by human ingenuity, enterprise, and sheer ambition. He painted vivid images of towering skyscrapers, glittering streets, and a life where hard labor could be replaced with convenience and luxury. Dylan's true intentions, however, were not just to visit. He had come with a purpose. He saw potential in the untouched beauty of the village, envisioning a future where it could be transformed into a thriving hub for wealthy travelers. He imagined sleek, modern hotels lining the shore, their glass exteriors reflecting the sun's golden rays. He saw high-end boutiques replacing the modest market stalls, gourmet restaurants where simple wooden huts once stood, and sprawling entertainment centers that would bring in visitors from across the world. In his mind, the village was no longer a secluded, peaceful haven but an untapped economic goldmine waiting to be reshaped by his ambitious vision. From the moment Dylan arrived, he was captivated by Clara. Her quiet strength, her unwavering devotion to her family, and the effortless grace with which she carried herself set her apart. There was a quiet dignity in the way she moved through the village, a deep-rooted connection to her home that Dylan could not ignore. He saw in her something rare, someone who did not chase after wealth or status, but found fulfillment in the simple beauty of everyday life. Accustomed to getting what he wanted, Dylan saw Clara as a challenge. He attempted to win her over with grand promises, painting visions of a world beyond the village where luxury and excitement awaited. "You are too special to be confined to this place," he told her, his voice smooth with persuasion. "Imagine a life where you don't have to work tirelessly under the sun, where every comfort is at your fingertips. You would be admired, respected, and surrounded by the finest things the world has to offer. Come with me, and I will show you a life beyond your imagination." "You are too special to spend your days in a place like this," he said one afternoon at the market, his voice dripping with conviction. "Come with me, and I will show you a world filled with grandeur, where you will never have to toil under the scorching sun. A life beyond your wildest dreams awaits you." Clara, however, was not easily swayed. She had no interest in the lavish promises Dylan made. The city, with all its glittering lights and grand opportunities, was a world she neither understood nor desired. To her, it was a place of noise and distraction, where people forgot their roots and became lost in the pursuit of wealth. Her heart belonged to the village, to the steady rhythm of the tides, the warmth of her family, and the traditions that had defined generations before her. Though Clara resisted, Dylan was not easily deterred. He studied the village carefully, observing its people and identifying their vulnerabilities. When his charm failed to persuade Clara, he changed his approach. Rather than pressuring her further, he turned his attention to Ethan, recognizing the young boy's insatiable curiosity and longing for adventure. Dylan knew that to win over Clara, he had to first plant the seed of doubt within her family. Unlike Clara, Ethan was still impressionable. The stories Dylan told about city life sparked a sense of wonder in him. He spoke of towering buildings that reached into the clouds, streets teeming with people from all walks of life, and the vibrant energy of a world that never slept. Ethan imagined dazzling lights illuminating the night, grand libraries filled with endless knowledge, and places where every day held new possibilities. These were things he had never known but now longed to experience for himself. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Dylan handed Ethan a small, weathered map, its edges frayed with time. "If you ever want to see the world beyond this village, come with me," he whispered, his voice laced with temptation. "There are places where the night never truly falls, where streets shine like rivers of gold, and towers stretch endlessly toward the heavens. The world is vast, Ethan, and it holds treasures beyond your wildest dreams, secrets hidden within the depths of bustling cities, knowledge passed through generations in grand halls of learning, and adventures that make a man immortal in history. Come with me, and I will show you wonders that no fisherman's net could ever capture." Ethan was torn. He loved his family and the village, but the call of adventure was intoxicating. He imagined the thrill of discovering new places, the stories he would bring back, and the experiences that would shape him. That night, with a heart full of both guilt and excitement, he made a decision. He would leave with Dylan, just for a short while, to see the city and experience the world beyond the shores he had always known. He reassured himself that he would return soon, carrying knowledge and tales that would enrich his village, unaware that his journey would challenge everything he believed in. The next morning, Clara awoke to find Ethan's bed empty. A deep sense of dread settled in her chest as she called his name, her voice echoing through the quiet house. She searched every corner, hoping to find him tucked away, but as each empty room confirmed his absence, panic surged through her. Her hands trembled as she pushed open the front door, scanning the familiar village paths, but Ethan was nowhere to be seen. When she realized he was truly gone, her heart clenched with fear, a cold weight settling in her stomach. Their father, though stoic, showed his worry through the tightness in his jaw. His usual calm demeanor wavered as he spoke, his voice heavy with concern. "He has followed that man," he said, his eyes dark with unspoken fears. "You must bring him home, Clara, before it is too late." Without hesitation, Clara packed a small bag and set off toward the city. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with the unknown, but fear would not deter her. She had never traveled beyond the village, yet each step forward was driven by her unwavering determination. She had made a promise, to protect her brother, and she would not break it. The sea had taught her resilience, the village had instilled in her strength, And now, armed with only her love for Ethan, she would face whatever lay ahead. The city was unlike anything Clara had imagined. It roared with life, a symphony of car horns, hurried footsteps, and distant sirens. The streets pulsed with endless movement, a sea of unfamiliar faces rushing past her, each absorbed in their own worlds. Towering buildings loomed above, their glass exteriors reflecting the neon glow of massive billboards. The flashing lights and sheer scale of it all made her feel insignificant, but she pushed past her unease. She had only one goal: to find Ethan, no matter how overwhelming the city seemed. Days turned into nights as she searched relentlessly, her body weary from exhaustion, her hope flickering like a candle in the wind. She wandered through crowded streets, questioning strangers, tracing vague leads that often led to dead ends. Hunger gnawed at her, and fatigue clouded her thoughts, but she refused to give up. Then, at last, when she had almost lost faith, she found him. Ethan sat on a bench, his shoulders hunched and his gaze fixed on the ground. The once bright curiosity in his eyes had been replaced by exhaustion and regret. When he looked up and saw Clara, a wave of relief washed over his face, quickly followed by guilt. "Clara, I'm so sorry," he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. "I thought it would be exciting, an adventure, but it's not. It's lonely, confusing, and nothing like I imagined. I just want to go home." Clara hugged him tightly, feeling the weight of his regret melt into her embrace. "Let's go home, Ethan," she whispered, her voice warm with understanding. "The city may shine, but its lights can never replace the stars above our village. We belong where the sea sings and our family waits." They returned to the village, where they were welcomed with open arms. Ethan had learned a valuable lesson. The city, though filled with wonders, could never replace the warmth, familiarity, and deep-rooted sense of belonging that home provided. He realized that true fulfillment did not come from material wealth or fleeting excitement, but from love, tradition, and the unbreakable bonds of family. The village, with its simple yet profound way of life, held a richness that no amount of luxury could ever rival. As for Dylan, he eventually came to understand the profound value of the village's way of life. He realized that no amount of wealth or development could replicate the strength of a community bound by trust, shared history, and a deep connection to the land. Watching the villagers work in harmony, supporting one another through hardships and triumphs alike, he saw a richness that no material success could ever provide. It was a lesson that reshaped his understanding of fulfillment and belonging. Years passed, and the village remained untouched by modernity's temptations, its traditions preserved like the tides that continued their eternal rhythm. Clara and Ethan grew, carrying on the legacy of their ancestors with unwavering dedication. Ethan, now a seasoned fisherman, mastered the ocean's unpredictable ways, earning the respect of his fellow villagers as he led the fleet with wisdom and skill. Clara, embodying the strength of their mother, became a beacon of knowledge, guiding the younger generations not just in the craft of fishing, but in the deeper understanding of their heritage, resilience, and the unbreakable bonds that held their community together. Dylan, too, changed. No longer driven by ambition alone, he visited the village not as a businessman seeking profit, but as someone who had come to admire and embrace its traditions. He observed the villagers with newfound humility, understanding that their way of life carried a richness that wealth could not replicate. Over time, he found himself contributing in small, meaningful ways, helping to repair fishing nets, listening to stories by the fire, and learning the rhythms of the tides. He learned that not all places needed to be transformed. Some were perfect just the way they were, not because they resisted change, but because they had already found what truly mattered. As Clara and Ethan stood together on the shore, watching the waves roll in, they felt the weight of their journey settle into a quiet peace. The salty breeze carried echoes of their past, the lessons learned, and the trials overcome. The ocean, with its rhythmic pull and endless horizon, mirrored their own growth, ever-changing yet constant. No matter where life took them, they knew that their home, their family, and their way of life would always be their anchor, a steadfast refuge in an ever-shifting world, a testament to the enduring power of love, tradition, and the resilience of the human spirit. This is a tale of family, tradition, and the strength to resist the temptations of an ever-changing world. A story that reminds us that sometimes, the best things in life are the ones we already have. If you enjoyed this story and want to continue building your English vocabulary while experiencing more captivating tales, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends. Together, we can learn English in a more engaging and professional way. Stay tuned for more inspiring stories.